Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 76 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng stood alone on the pavilion, overlooking the Xiangjia city at night. He looked down at the talisman in his hand, thinking about every word said by the deputy palace master of Liangjia Palace, Walker. Once I join, you can send me to a treasure land left by Yuan? Luo Feng was indeed tempted. He had an inheritance related to Yuan, the art of leaving Yuan, and of course he wanted a similar opportunity. But Luo Feng was still very vigilant. The Two Realms Palace said that everyone has equal status, mutual cooperation, and fair exchange. But is what they say necessarily true? Let me ask Master first. Luo Feng thought. The capital of Chu, the Emperor Chu Palace. Luo Feng went to pay a visit to his master that night. The deputy palace master of Liangjia Palace, Walker, invited you? Di Chu sat there, nodding and sighing. Liangjia Palace acted quickly. They invited you when you were still a Chaos Realm Transcendent and were willing to give you a chance to enter the treasure land. It's a big deal. Luo Feng listened. The master said it was a big deal. It seems that this opportunity is indeed not small. He's right. Emperor Chu nodded. The resources of the two ancient countries are mainly for the royal family. Non-royal families need to exchange them with merits or pay a certain price. Luo Feng understood that the deputy palace master did not lie. This is also the rule set by the ancestor. Emperor Chu said, the ancestor ordered that the treasures he sent back could be used to cultivate the elites of the clan after strict screening. Therefore, the elites of the clan can get a lot of benefits. The first-class dukes of the royal family can get a lot, and the royal god kings can get even more. This has also aroused the envy of many other god kings on the origin continent. But the ancestor said that the strong men who are not from the royal family, the ancestor will give them the opportunity to exchange inheritance and resources. But they must be exchanged for merit, or exchanged fairly at other prices. It can't be a free gift, it has to be a fair exchange. Di Chu looked at Luo Feng and smiled. Even if I accept you as my personal disciple, if I want to give you benefits, the master must bear the cost. For example, the resources I give you, and even the inheritance of 72 blades of destruction and 8 tribulations life form, within the scope of the God King in the future, are all borne by me. Luo Feng understood. The two ancestors believed in fair exchange for those who were not from their family. It was impossible for them to give away resources for free. Thank you, Master. Luo Feng said gratefully. The exchange value of these two inheritances, especially the contents at the ultimate level of the God King, is a cumulative amount of hundreds of millions of merits. So the help I can give you is limited. Di Chu said, and I still owe the family a great deal of credit. Do you owe credit to the family? Luo Feng was puzzled. The resources left by the ancestors will indeed be distributed to a certain extent. Di Chu explained, but if you apply for extra resources beyond the family quota, you owe it to the family. In order to become the emperor, I applied for a huge amount of resources. The resources of Emperor Cheng and Lord Cheng, the two ancestors are willing to exchange fairly with other practitioners, but the other god kings of the origin continent simply can't afford it. Emperor Chu said, this is also the real reason why only the two royal families have Emperor Chu and Lord Cheng. If I'm in debt, I have to perform many tasks, and I can't shirk it. The resources left by Yuan are extremely valuable. I have taken a share of the resources, and I must give them to the family until I have completely paid off my debts. Di Chu said, the 13 emperors of the royal family have indeed occupied the most precious resources on the origin continent with their strength. But they have all been returned to the family. Except for Di Qing, the other 12 emperors all owe the family. Di Chu said, Di Qing has some power to give the resources left by Yuan owned by the family to his disciples. But we 12 emperors do not have this power. Luo Feng understood. You are my disciple and a guest of the Yangfeng ancient country. Emperor Chu said, unless the ancestor personally invites you and gives you enough promises, there is no need for you to completely join the Yangfeng ancient country. Once you join, although there are some benefits, the restrictions on you will also increase greatly. It is better for a powerful God King to be free. I understand. Luo Feng nodded. Master, do I need to join the Liangjie Palace? Don't join, said Di Chu. Luo Feng was puzzled. Though the royal families of the two ancient nations are powerful throughout the origin continent in terms of numbers, there are still more god kings outside the royal families. Emperor Chu said, they do have the qualifications to compete for the resources left by Yuan. So they have also formed forces of varying sizes. These forces are either overt or covert. There are 3 major secret forces among them, you should not join them. They are Liangjie Palace, Wanfa Tower, and Time and Space Lonely Boat. Emperor Chu said. Why can't you join? Luo Feng asked. These 3 hidden forces should all have been established by alien races. Emperor Chu said, the alien races I'm talking about are the practitioners outside the cage. Luo Feng was shocked. Alien? Don't worry, the alien race is suppressed by the supreme rules, and the power of any trick will be limited and cannot exceed a certain limit of the Chaos Realm. Emperor Chu said, once the power is limited, no matter how mysterious it is, it can only be regarded as a more difficult God King of the first level. Luo Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Their true strength should be beyond the ultimate realm of God King. Emperor Chu said, so even if it is just a weak clone that came to us across the distant Hunyuan space. But a God King of the first level who cannot be completely killed and whose methods are weird and unpredictable still brings a lot of trouble to the two ancient countries. What are they doing in the origin continent? Luo Feng asked. The resources left by Yuan. Emperor Chu said, you may not know the preciousness of the resources left by Yuan. Those are resources that even the ultimate God Kings and above are still envious of. I won't let you join the 3 alien forces. First, the aliens are the ones who want to get the resources left by Yuan the most. Your actions are all under their surveillance. The aliens will be your direct competitors. Second, if you have contact with them for a long time, who knows what hidden dangers will arise. For example, the so-called Two Realms Palace, the 10,000 Laws Building, and the space-time Lonely Boat are all secret treasures that surpass the ultimate realm of the God King. It is hard to say whether there are hidden dangers if you enter such places with your mind for a long time. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. As for other forces, you can join anyone you want. I understand, Master. Luo Feng knew that these 3 major forces were established by alien races, so he denied it. There may be some God Kings of the second level who have lived a long life. They have confidence in their own strength, and in order to break through, they seek the skin of tigers and deal with alien races. I am still very young, there is no need to do that. Although there are some treasures left by Yuan, there are very few that can be entered by the Chaos Realm. Emperor Chu said, perhaps only these 3 major forces have such courage to give you a chance to enter directly. Luo Feng nodded. There really is no such thing as a free lunch. The tastier the pie looks, the bigger the problem. Who would have thought that there was an alien race behind the Liangjie Palace? Let me think about it. Di Chu sat there, thinking quickly. Nowadays, the resources of the origin continent have long been clearly divided up, and it is difficult to obtain resources except by robbing with strength. And Luo Feng, who is the first in the Chaos Realm, cannot compete with those ancient beings for resources. You are in the Chaos Realm, and you want to obtain the great opportunity left by Yuan. In addition to cooperating with alien races, I can only think of a way. Di Chu thought. What method? Luo Feng's eyes lit up. You should know that the 2 ancient countries' Chaos Realm will fight for some of the natural treasures that are born on the border between the 2 ancient countries. Emperor Chu said, all kinds of competition are generally limited to the Chaos Realm. And you are in the Chaos Realm. And you are the first in the Chaos Realm, the absolute first. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. As a Chaos Realm, it is in line with the rules of the 2 ancient countries for you to fight for the resources of the Thunder ancient country on the border. Luo Feng nodded. The border between the 2 countries is very long, and there are many rare treasures of heaven and earth. Emperor Chu said, I will send you the information about the time when all the rare treasures of heaven and earth mature, and you can fight for them again and again. Each time we fight for those rare treasures, they are only worth a few thousand merits. But in one epoch, we should be able to fight for hundreds of times, which means hundreds of thousands of merits. 100 epochs, that's tens of millions of merits. 1,000 epochs, that's hundreds of millions of merits. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng, because each time they are rare treasures nurtured by heaven and earth, they are only worth a few thousand merits. For this little merit, it is impossible for the God King to personally go down and turn it into a God King level war. As long as you keep fighting, you will succeed every time with your overwhelming strength. As long as you fight dozens of times, the Thunder Ancient Country will realize the seriousness of the problem and they will come to negotiate with you. Emperor Chu said, when the time comes, you will ask for a place to enter the treasure land left by Yuan. As a guest of the ancient country of Yangfeng, you can't do anything to your own family. Just do it to them, force them to feel sorry for you, and force them to give you the opportunity. Di Chu smiled and said, this is the only way I can think of. Thank you, Master. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. Chaos Realm Transcendents were all below the Divine King level, so it was naturally difficult for them to improve their combat power. For example, the top 5 Chaos Realm Transcendents nowadays seem to have only different methods to differentiate themselves from one another. It was during this era that Luo Feng appeared. The battlefield where the two ancient countries were fighting in the Chaos Realm became a harvesting field swept by Luo Feng. Go? Di Chu said. Watching his disciples leave, Di Chu sighed secretly. He wanted to help his disciples, but he was also very poor and could only give some of his own resources to his disciples. As for the precious resources left by Yuan, he had no power to distribute them. In the end, he still gave some advice and let his disciples fight based on their own abilities. The border between the two ancient countries is really long. Luo Feng stood high in the sky, his master gave him advice, and he naturally began to act. The two ancient countries occupy the most essential places in the entire origin continent, and the border area between them is the core area of the origin continent. There are many places that breed natural treasures, but these natural treasures also have growth cycles. Only in the mature stage do they need strict guarding. Strict guarding? With the help of the formation, how many people can stop me? Luo Feng's body carries a full 9 billion black rivers. Let's get started. Accustomed to the normal Chaos Realm battle boundary, from this day on, the Chaos Realm Transcendent No. 1, Luo He, also joined in. There is an ancient tree nurtured by heaven and earth in the territory of the ancient country of thunder, named the Frost Fruit Tree. It bears fruit once every 196 centuries. The frost fruit it produces is an auxiliary resource for cultivating the Han Yuan bloodline. The Frost Fruit Tree is about to mature, and the Chaos Realm from the ancient Flame Wind country may come to snatch it at any time. The one in charge of guarding the Frost Fruit Tree is also a Chaos Realm peak warrior. He has stopped practicing these days and has been controlling the formation with all his heart and soul, always on guard against the enemy. Every 196 centuries, during the period before and after the fruit matures, there will be powerful warriors guarding the place. With my strength and the formation set up by the God King, even if a Chaos Realm Transcendent were to attack, I would be able to hold him off for a certain period of time. And a Chaos Realm Transcendent would not look down on this little fruit, would he? The grey-robed old man thought. Each time, only 8 pieces are produced, which are worth only 8,000 merits. Generally, the Chaos Realm Transcendent cannot break the formation in a short time, and the Thunder Ancient Country will send support. Soon. The Frost Fruit Tree should be ripe tonight. The grey-robed old man kept watching, and time passed slowly. Suddenly, the ancient tree that looked like a sculpture of ice suddenly burst into a dazzling cold white light, and then all the cold white light merged into the 8 fruits. At this moment, the Black River world arrived and completely sealed off the area where the Frost Fruit Tree was located. Not good. The grey-robed old man was shocked and picked the ripe fruits in an instant. The mighty Black River water had already swept in. The formation set up by the God King was directly penetrated and invaded by this terrifying force, and was unable to stop the invasion of the river water at all. The old man in grey robe looked in all directions. There was grey mist trying to escape, but it could not penetrate the Black River world. The world is banned, the Black River territory, is it the great sage Loha? The grey-robed old man's heart trembled. The Black River water reached the grey-robed old man and condensed into a figure which was exactly the appearance of Luo Feng. Great sage Luo He. The grey-robed old man immediately wrote the letter respectfully, not daring to be disrespectful in the slightest. Give me the fruit. Luo Feng looked at him. Yes. The grey-robed old man was very obedient and handed the 8 fruits to Luo Feng without any resistance. He was worried that if he resisted, Luo Feng would crush him to death. Then the weapon and secret treasure he was carrying would be robbed. That was much more valuable than the 8 fruits. Call. After collecting 8 fruits, the Black River water and the vast Black River world disappeared in an instant. The grey-robed old man heaved a sigh of relief. This Luo He great sage was quite merciful and didn't attack me. Since Luo Feng decided to harvest the wonders of the world on a large scale, he did not think of killing the guardians on a large scale. Firstly, with his current strength, he is considered to be a very strong level in the first level of the Divine King realm. Killing these 2 weak ones would be a bit of bullying the weak. Secondly, killing too many guardians would cause too much consequences. These Chaos Realm people who are responsible for guarding also have backgrounds and factions in the Thunder Ancient Country. If you make too many enemies and kill too many young ones, you might provoke some old ones. The most important thing is that Luo Feng hates people who kill people at will. His original intention of harvesting the rare treasures of heaven and earth on a large scale this time was to force the ancient country of Thunder to negotiate and ask for a chance to enter the treasure land. There is no other way. He is not from the royal family of the 2 ancient countries. He does not want to cooperate with foreign races, so he can only use this method. The ancient country of Thunder, the holy land of Thunder Mountain. A god king in a dark purple robe sat there, handling a large number of trivial matters, and a large amount of information from the vast ancient country was passed on one by one. Oh! Luo He, who is the first in the Chaos Realm Transcendent, took 8 frost fruits. This is his first time to fight for the rare treasures of heaven and earth on the border. The God King smiled and his aura was very peaceful. I guess these frost fruits will be of some use to him. He didn't care at all. Battles for the Chaos Realm at the border are very common, and this is Luo Feng's first time taking action. Although the border between the 2 ancient countries is very long and there are many places that give birth to rare treasures from heaven and earth, there are only about 100 opportunities for them to appear in each era. After making a move, Luo Feng had to wait patiently for the next one. On his 3rd attempt to scramble for the treasures of heaven and earth, Luo Feng received a piece of news. Marquis Liu Yin is dead? Luo Feng stopped in mid-air, very surprised by the news. The core members of Liu Yinhu's family disappeared. According to the information from Yangfeng Hall, they should have split into many branches and gone into hiding. As for Liu Yinhu, the cause and effect disappeared completely. He should have chosen to reincarnate. This kind of person who arranged his family in advance, dealt with all matters properly, and then died, can almost certainly be a voluntary reincarnation. How did he reincarnate? I had planned to look for him after my spiritual will reach the ultimate realm of God King. Luo Feng thought. He had many reasons for wanting to kill Liu Yinhu. The first was the death of his good friend En Qianyang. The second was that Liu Yinhu liked to stir up disasters. Killing people was what Liu Yinhu liked to do, and his children also liked to kill people. Luo Feng didn't take action because he was not sure he could kill the other party completely. Who would have thought that the other person would be reincarnated first? Luo Feng didn't think any more and continued on his way to fight for the rare treasures of heaven and earth for the 3rd time. Thunder Mountain. The God King, dressed in a dark purple robe, looked serious. The first time Luo He fought for the rare treasures of the ancient country of Thunder, he just smiled. The 2nd and 3rd time happened, which surprised him a little. The 7th and 8th times, he felt something was wrong. That's the 15th time. Recently, all the rare treasures from heaven and earth that were bred in the border were snatched away by Luo He every time, and he never missed a single one. The God King had a serious expression. The 15 times added up to only about 100,000 merits. The ancient country of thunder doesn't care about this value. But Luo, his behavior made him alert. I must report this to the monarch. The God King immediately stood up and went to report to the monarch in person. After a moment, in a majestic and vast hall, a figure bathed in thunder sat high on the throne. My lord. The 9 divine kings all bowed respectfully. Sit down. The pair of golden eyes of the thunder figure looked down with a terrifying sense of oppression. He was the current ruling monarch of the thunder ancient country, Monarch Lei Xiao. The 9 monarchs of the thunder ancient country were mainly divided into 2 factions. The first kind of cultivation is the chaotic origin bloodline of the thunder lineage, which is also the path of the thunder ancestor. This path is the most mature, but not every younger generation is good at the thunder lineage. After all, there is no thunder origin avenue in the supreme rules of the origin continent. So this path is very mature, but very difficult. Even in the ancient country of thunder, there are only 3 monarchs who practice the thunder pure origin bloodline. Their various secret methods are more complete, they have more suitable secret treasures, and they are even more sober. There are also 6 monarchs who are practicing, and the other Hunyuan bloodlines can also be considered a faction. If you really want to count, there are 3 half-out-of-control, monarch-level masters, who can also be considered a faction. After all, when they are sober, they are real monarch-level forces. You should all know the situation. Lord Lei Xiao looked at his men. Tell me how to solve it. The border between the 2 ancient countries is so long. For 15 consecutive times, the rare treasures from heaven and earth had just matured and were snatched away by Luo He. A burly figure under his command said with bloodshot and cold eyes. 5 or 6 times can barely be considered a coincidence, but 15 times in a row is definitely not a coincidence. He did it on purpose. If we let him go on like this for 100 or 1,000 epochs, will we give him all the rare treasures in the world? In my opinion, we should just kill all his clones and leave him no time to reincarnate. Only in this way can we deter all parties and let the Yangfeng ancient country know that the border dispute is a fair fight. We, the Leiting ancient country, will not tolerate such wanton plundering. The burly figure said coldly. Yes, he was killed before he could reincarnate. Another hairy god king also roared. Lord Lei Xiao looked down. Because there are too many ancient thunder kingdoms who cultivate the Hunyuan bloodline, most of the god kings are a little crazy. Why do they have a higher status in the thunder lineage? Strength is one thing, and the other is being able to be more sober. I want to ask how to kill him completely? A woman in gorgeous robes said leisurely, this Luo he cultivates the 3 origins of life, destruction, and matter. He has countless clones, and some of them live in Chudu. Please tell me how to go to Chudu to kill a god king with countless clones, who is considered an extremely powerful existence at the first level. That is Chudu. Chudu was personally refined by the ancestor of Yangfeng. With Emperor Chu in charge, the power will be greatly weakened due to the penetration of cause and effect. How to kill him? The woman in gorgeous robes looked at the other gods. The other gods fell silent. Of course we can't do it, but the monarchs can. The burly figure finally spoke. You mean, ask the monarch to take action? For this matter, let a monarch come to the Chu capital of the ancient country of Yangfeng? The woman in gorgeous robes shook her head. First of all, if the monarch takes action, it is bullying the weak, and the entire origin continent will laugh at us. Secondly, in a place like Chudu, with this Luo He clone, countless life-saving abilities, and the protection of Emperor Chu, even if the monarch can kill him, it will only take a little time for Luo He to reincarnate. After reincarnation, Luo He will definitely hide, and when he becomes the God King, his strength will be much stronger than it is now, and he will not be inferior to me, said the woman in gorgeous robes. Third, don't forget Emperor Chu's temper. If our monarch really bullies the weak and goes to Chu to kill his disciples, what will Emperor Chu do? The woman in gorgeous robes swept everyone present, and these gods fell silent. Yes, the ancient country of thunder started to bully the weak and Emperor Chu would never tolerate it. Once Emperor Chu takes action, the other emperors behind him will fight among themselves, but they will definitely unite against the outside world. The most important thing is the border between the two ancient countries. Let the Chaos Realm fight. This was decided by the two ancestors. The woman in gorgeous robes said, "This is also to sharpen the Chaos Realm of the two countries. Let them fight and kill each other, and the stronger ones will get resources." Luo he is also in the Chaos Realm, and he is completely following the rules when he fights for the treasures of heaven and earth. Now just because he is strong, you want to take action. Doesn't this mean that we, Lei Ting, are too petty? How can we break the rules set by our ancestors just for such a small matter? The woman in gorgeous robes glanced at her companions. What do you think we can do? She is constantly fighting for the rare treasures of heaven and earth. The burly god king stared at the other party with blood-red eyes. Just talk to Luo he. It's just a small matter that can be solved by negotiation. The woman next to Huamai said, and she smiled as she glanced at the group of gods. A bunch of fools. She really looked down on these companions. She had not cultivated the Han Yuan bloodline, but she was already at the invincible level of the first level of the Divine King, and the overlord of the Origin continent. She was ambitious. The further she went without the help of external forces, the stronger she would be with the help of the Han Yuan bloodline in the future. She even had the hope of becoming the new monarch. I support God King Jian. Yes, we can't break the rules of the ancestors. Immediately, 3 god kings spoke one after another, and Lord Lei Xiao nodded with satisfaction. The god king Jiao under his command was the one he valued the most. He became invincible in the first level of God King without relying on external forces. In the ancient country of thunder, only those with strength could have status. The god king Jiao was strong enough and sober, so he could do things very well. Most of the other overlord-level beings are too crazy and unbridled. Jiao, I'll leave this matter to you. Lord Lei Xiao said. Yes, Lord. The woman in gorgeous robes responded. Lord Lei Xiao immediately stood up and disappeared. The woman in the gorgeous robe also disappeared into thin air. Humph. The burly god king's blood-red eyes were filled with anger. He glanced at the place where the woman in gorgeous robes disappeared. Practicing the great way of infinite origin, you only know how to hide. He disliked the god king Jiao very much and even tried to fight with him, but he couldn't touch him. This video will end here.